So, uh, I want you to imagine a scenario that basically goes against, well, everything we are taught to strive for.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine you're a billionaire,
Hmm.
or, maybe you're a world leader like a president or a king sitting on a throne.
Right, the absolute peak.
Exactly. By every metric society has ever given you, you have completely won the game of life. But, and here's the catch what, sitting on that seat of ultimate worldly power actually meant you were profoundly, completely mediocre.
Wow. I mean, it's a really striking paradox to open with, right?
Yeah.
The very pinnacle of what we normally call success being redefined as, well, just another form of mediocrity.
Right, like what if sitting on the ultimate throne meant you were just playing a really small game?
Yeah.
So today we are unpacking this fascinating and honestly highly provocative essay from February 2024.
By Suifeng, right.
Yes, exactly. It's titled People Without Goals Must Be Mediocre, and it argues precisely that point.
It's a great piece.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore this text's radical redefinition of ambition, success, and the sheer scale of the resources available to us in the universe.
If we drastically rethink our motivations, yeah.
Right. And just to be clear to everyone listening, this is not your standard corporate self-help guide on, like, how to climb the ladder or optimize your morning routine.
Oh, absolutely not. No, this is a deeply philosophical, almost cosmic perspective on human drive.
Yeah, cosmic is a good word for it.
The author is basically analyzing the entire spectrum of human existence, from having absolutely no goals at all to having goals so grand that they, transcend the material world entirely.
Right.
It really asks you to reconsider the fundamental foundation of why you even get out of bed in the morning. And it does so by challenging our most basic assumptions about agency and power.
So true. But to really understand what Shuofeng means by this ultimate cosmic top, we actually have to start at the absolute bottom.
Right, the starting line.
Yeah, we need to look at what the author argues we are desperately trying to escape in the first place.
Yeah.
Because the imagery used in this essay to describe a life with no goals is, well, it's incredibly visceral.
It is. It's very blunt.
Yeah, you aren't just described as, like, drifting aimlessly. The text argues you become a pawn on the social chessboard or even meat on a chopping board.
Meat on a chopping board. Yeah, disposability is really the core theme running through that imagery.
Definitely.
The text also compares the aimless to leeks growing in the field, waiting to be harvested, or even trash waiting to be swept away.
Ouch. I mean, that's harsh.
It is, but when you have no goal, the fundamental mechanism at play is the total loss of agency. You basically become raw material.
Right.
Because systems, whether they're corporate, political, social, they absolutely abhor a vacuum. So if you abdicate your own goal setting, society will gladly step in and assign you a purpose.
And it's probably not a purpose you're going to like.
Exactly. That purpose will invariably be to serve someone else's grander design.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because framing it as a loss of agency makes it intensely practical.
How so?
Well, having no goals is like floating in the ocean without a sail.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Like you didn't get to decide your destination. The currents or, society decide for you.
Yeah, that analogy perfectly illustrates the illusion of aimless freedom.
You might think you're just chilling, going with the flow.
But you haven't escaped the game of life. You've just surrendered your ability to influence your position within it. You are entirely at the mercy of the environment and the active players around you.
So true. So if total aimlessness leaves you paralyzed and vulnerable to being harvested like a leek, the natural human reflex is to grasp for control, right?
Naturally, yeah, we want to steer the ship.
Exactly. We start making daily checklists, we aim for the next promotion, we try to save a little money, and this brings us up the ladder to what Sofeng calls small goals.
Right, the next tier.
But rather than seeing this as the cure for aimlessness, the text argues that setting small goals turns life into a constant battlefield.
It's a huge shift in tone.
It claims this state leads to constant crisis, fear, anxiety, sleeplessness, and just running around upset every single day.
Yeah, the passivity of the chopping board is basically replaced by the frantic, nervous energy of survival.
It sounds exhausting.
It is. When your overarching life philosophy is consumed by micro-battles, your horizon is so close to your face that every minor obstacle looks like an insurmountable mountain.
Okay, but I have to push back on this on behalf of everyone listening right now.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
Because this sounds incredibly dismissive of, well, normal human life. Wait, isn't setting small, achievable goals supposed to be the secret to productivity?
That's what we're always taught. Yeah.
Right. I mean, without those small goals, how do you actually pay the rent? You can't just sit around meditating on the cosmos while your electricity gets shut off and your kids go hungry.
No, of course not.
Why does Yufeng argue that this logical approach is actually a trap that keeps you in survival mode?
Well, this raises an important question about what constitutes your ultimate ambition versus your daily necessity.
Okay, tell me more.
The text isn't saying you shouldn't pay your rent. The trap lies in allowing those small, immediate survival metrics to become the absolute ceiling of your life's purpose.
Ah, I see.
When your primary goals are strictly limited to immediate material survival, like paying the bills, getting a slight promotion, maybe buying a slightly better car, you are tethering your entire psychological state to worldly anxieties.
Because you're basically fighting over things that can easily be taken away.
Precisely. The resources required for small goals are scarce. Money is scarce, job titles are scarce, social status is scarce.
Right.
And where there is scarcity, there is intense competition. If the economy dips, your small goal of saving for a car is ruined. If a younger, faster competitor emerges at work, your small goal of a promotion is threatened.
So you're just constantly on edge.
Exactly. You are fighting in the trenches, fiercely defending a tiny patch of territory. That's the mechanism behind the anxiety and sleeplessness the text describes. You are constantly vulnerable to environmental shifts because your margin for error is essentially zero.
Wow. That actually reframes the whole concept of burnout for me.
Right. It makes a lot of sense.
It's not necessarily that the daily work is too hard. It's that the overarching goal is too small to justify the exhaustion.
Exactly. The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah. So if having no goals makes you raw material, and having small goals turns you into an exhausted foot soldier fighting over scraps, the logical assumption is that we need massive, monumental goals. We need to win the war and reach the top of society.
That's what you would think, naturally.
But this leads us to the most counterintuitive claim in the entire text.
Yeah, this is where Sherifin completely subverts our standard societal expectations.
The text asserts that once you truly reach the absolute top, you look down and realize that kings, presidents, and billionaires are all actually mediocre.
Which is such a wild thing to say.
It is. And the essay details exactly what a truly top person would reject. It argues that undertaking the strenuous task of being a president would be totally undesirable.
Right, too much headache.
Exactly. Digging a mountain of gold and silver, even if it were right in front of you, is pointless. Living in a massive palace is rejected. And it claims that even if a job offered $1 million a day in income, a person at the true top wouldn't take it.
Yeah, because the difference between mediocrity and excellence in this philosophy relies entirely on transcending the game itself rather than just winning it.
Transcending the game.
Right. Becoming a president or a billionaire is still viewed as playing a small game. You are just playing it with much higher stakes and more sophisticated tools.
Right, you're still playing.
Exactly. You haven't transcended the material battlefield of anxiety and resource hoarding. You simply survived it better than everyone else. But you are still trapped by it.
Let's map this to the listener's reality for a second. Think about your current dream job or, your ultimate financial milestone.
Got it in my head.
Now imagine finding that milestone so utterly trivial that you turn down $1 million daily salary to go do something entirely mundane instead.
It's hard to even fathom.
Right. What kind of psychological shift has to happen in a person's brain to reach that point of total disinterest in what the rest of the world values?
Well, the shift happens when you recognize the inherent burdens of traditional power.
Like what?
Like, a palace requires constant upkeep, staffing, and defense. A mountain of gold requires the physical labor of digging and the intense anxiety of guarding it from thieves.
Oh, that makes sense. More money, more problems.
Exactly. Being a president means carrying the crushing weight of endless, unsolvable societal conflicts. The text is pointing out that these massive goals don't actually grant freedom, they grant a highly gilded form of imprisonment.
Gilded cage.
Right, and there's this great quote in the text about overlooking all the small mountains. To someone standing at the true, absolute peak of existence, traditional wealth and political power are just molehills.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Reading this made me think of the mechanics of an open-world video game.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Think about the progression, right? When you first start the game, your character is weak and aimless. You are the leeks being harvested by low-level enemies.
You're just trying to survive.
Exactly. Then you get small goals, you grind for basic gear, and you're constantly stressed about your health bar. But after hundreds of hours, you beat the main quest. You have infinite gold. You've unlocked the best armor. You have completely maxed out your character's stats.
Right. And the dynamics of how you interact with the game world completely shift at that point.
Totally. Like if an NPC walks up to your maxed out character and offers you 1,000,000 gold coins to go chop wood for an hour,
Yeah.
you would just ignore them.
You don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need the gold, and you don't want the tedious, strenuous task. Reaching Sufeng's top is like fully maxing out your character in an open-world game. Once you have infinite gold and have beaten the main quest, like the presidency, the $1 billion, those traditional rewards lose all meaning. The only thing left to do is play the minigames.
That analogy perfectly captures the transition. When you no longer operate from a mindset of scarcity, the accumulation of more resources becomes a tedious distraction rather than a meaningful pursuit.
Right.
But it begs the question of what a maxed out character actually does with their time in real life.
Which leaves us with a massive unanswered question. If the money, the palaces, and the political power are all rejected as small mountains, what actually is the grand goal?
Right. What's left?
What are we aiming for, and what does life look like when you get there?
This brings us to the most radical and, honestly, metaphysical part of the essay.
Oh yeah, this part is wild.
The text claims that the grander the goal, the richer the resources. Once you hit this ultimate top, the scope of resources available to you becomes staggering. It states that all resources in the world become accessible.
And it explicitly clarifies that it isn't just talking about physical commodities like timber or oil, right?
No, it goes way beyond physical commodities. It says countries, political parties, religions, and people all become usable resources to you.
That alone is an unfathomable level of influence.
It is. But then the text takes a massive leap. It claims that gods, demons, celestial beings, monsters, and ghosts become usable resources.
Okay, wait. Really, literal demons. We need to unpack how that actually works, because he clearly isn't talking about finding a spell book and summoning a literal demon to do your laundry.
No, not at all. It represents a profoundly psychological and philosophical mechanism for dealing with reality. What's fascinating here is how the text merges extreme worldly ambition with mystical, cosmic elements, effectively turning the entire universe into a personal toolkit.
A toolkit. Okay, break that down for me.
Think about what a demon or a monster represents in the human experience. It's chaos, destruction, negative forces, unpredictable adversaries.
This is the stuff that keeps us up at night.
Exactly. If your goal is small, like protecting your single small business, a disruptive market force or a toxic competitor destroys your progress. You fear the demon.
Because your little patch of territory is fragile, and the demon can just wipe it out.
Exactly. But when your goal is truly cosmic, when you are operating on a scale that transcends individual survival or ego, those negative forces become predictable variables rather than existential threats.
You see them coming.
Yes. You don't fear the chaos, you leverage it. You use the friction of opposing forces, the demons of society or nature, to propel your grander design forward. Both seen and unseen, the universe becomes a sandbox of variables you can utilize.
So it's about reaching a level of awareness where nothing can actually harm your core purpose. A toxic competitor isn't a threat. They are a force that reveals a weakness in the market you can exploit.
That's a great real-world translation of it.
Yeah. A massive economic downturn isn't a disaster. It's a recalibration that opens up new avenues. You are utilizing the entire spectrum of existence.
Right.
But, the contrast the essay draws next is what I found so jarring. You supposedly have this ultimate cosmic power. You have demons and countries at your disposal. Yet how does the text describe the actual daily reality of living at the top?
It describes a life of profound, almost shocking simplicity and detachment.
Yeah, you aren't sitting in a dark war room moving countries around on a holographic map. The text says that once life reaches the top, everywhere in the world becomes home. A simple thatched house can provide adequate shelter. The world's winds and clouds, which we can interpret as the massive political or economic upheavals that cause everyone else so much anxiety, they're seen merely as dramas.
You are sitting in the audience, watching the play of human history unfold, rather than desperately fighting on the stage.
That sounds incredibly peaceful.
The contrast is entirely deliberate. Because you have the capacity to access everything, you actually require almost nothing to be content. The anxiety of the small goals battlefield is completely gone. There is no crisis, no fear, no sleeplessness.
Because there is nothing left to lose that actually matters.
Precisely.
And the essay states that in this ultimate peak, Life becomes strictly about games, entertainment, planting vegetables, and raising chickens.
Raising chickens, yes.
It even specifically calls raising chickens a wonderful tune.
Yeah.
After rejecting a massive palace and turning down $1 million a day, the ultimate state of human existence is playing games and doing simple gardening.
Well, this connects right back to the end game of your video game analogy.
Right, the mini games.
Exactly. When survival is no longer a question and the accumulation of wealth is recognized as a mediocre distraction, pure play is all that remains. Planting vegetables and raising chickens aren't chores or small goals in this state. They are expressions of absolute harmony. They are a way of interacting with the physical world joyfully, completely untethered from ambition, necessity, or the desperate human need to prove one's worth to society.
You just plant the seed to watch it grow.
Yes, not because you will starve if it fails.
So what does this all mean? Like for you, the listener, how does someone go from being meat on a chopping board, terrified of the world, to a cosmic gardener who leverages chaos as a resource?
The text provides a conceptual roadmap for this clarity at the very end. It explains that people with truly ambitious goals will know exactly where to go and what to do without wasting their life.
They just have a total sense of direction.
Right. They deeply understand the mechanics of the hardships along the way. The essay uses a wonderful phrase, noting that this clarity turns life's journey from the rough to the flat.
Smoothing out the endless grinding friction of daily existence.
And with that grand goal comes absolute discernment. You understand the fundamental differences and functions of humans, celestial beings, Buddhas, gods, demons, animals, and human society. You see the mechanics of reality clearly.
And if you don't?
Well, if you don't achieve this level of clarity, the essay bluntly concludes, you remain a mediocre being.
It leaves absolutely zero room for middle ground.
Yeah.
You either see the ultimate truth of the cosmic sandbox, or you are stuck in mediocrity.
Yeah, it's very binary in that sense.
There's no gold watch for 30 years of middle management in this philosophy.
No, definitely not. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ultimate takeaway we've explored today is that the scale of your goals entirely dictates the scale of your reality.
Right.
If you have no goals, you are a victim of reality swept away like trash by the currents of other people's ambitions. If you have small goals, you are a prisoner of reality, trapped in a battlefield of anxiety, hoarding scarce resources just to survive the week.
And even if you achieve what society calls massive goals, like hoarding money or achieving political status, you're just playing a game of accumulation that leaves you exhausted. You're basically just a well-decorated prisoner.
Exactly.
But if you adopt the ultimate grandest goal, you supposedly liberate yourself into a state of cosmic play where resources are infinite. And that infinite power ironically manifests as a life of quiet simplicity. So you really have to ask yourself where your own current goals fall on Shuifeng's spectrum.
Right.
Are you fighting a stressful micro battle, or are you looking toward the cosmic top?
It forces a harsh audit of our daily motivations, doesn't it? And the immense cognitive load of the stress we carry around with us.
It really does. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there is one final lingering thought I want you to mull over, something that builds on Shuifeng's text, but wasn't explicitly discussed today.
Oh, lay it on me.
If achieving this ultimate grand goal means that you view all worldly conflicts as mere dramas to be watched from the sidelines, and you focus solely on personal games, entertainment, and planting vegetables, does absolute enlightenment essentially require the total abandonment of human progress and society?
Ooh, that is a very sharp dilemma. It really questions the utility of enlightenment.
Right. Think about it. If everyone reached the top, if everyone rejected the strenuous tasks and the daily grind of innovation, medicine, and infrastructure, who would be left to keep the world running?
Someone has to keep the lights on.
Exactly. Does reaching the cosmic peak require a world full of mediocre people grinding away at the bottom just to sustain the infrastructure that allows the enlightened to plant their vegetables in peace?
It's a bit of a paradox.
It makes you wonder if being that profoundly exceptional is ultimately a solitary, almost selfish pursuit. So the next time you see a billionaire on the news or you're stressing over a small daily goal on your checklist, just remember, you might be fighting a battle that a cosmic gardener would just watch as a passing drama. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been great.
Keep questioning, keep learning, and we will catch you on the next one.